it is a make or break year for Trevor. I have faith, and he's right. I like that he's leaning into it, getting into my prime, time to turn it on, and he knows the last year and a half have not gone the way he or any of us would have liked, because he was on such a great trajectory. And you guys hate this graphic. I'm going to show it anyway. Because prior to him needing to be carted off, but them not having a card, that's what he had done over a year and a half.
I love you, you love me. That is what the relationship between Nick Wright and Trevor Lawrence looks like, aka the Prince, according to Nick Wright. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about how Nick Wright is still confident Trevor Lawrence will reach his potential. With Trevor Lawrence having Liam Coen as his head coach now, there are now expectations for Trevor Lawrence to become an elite quarterback. However, Trevor Lawrence has been coming off of struggles in his last 2 seasons as the Jaguars starter. Before I say anything else, though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So, here it is. Do you agree with Nick Wright's take on Trevor Lawrence? No, I don't. I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is trash. I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is a horrible quarterback, but in terms of Trevor Lawrence reaching his fullest potential, no, I don't see it. I don't see it happening in Jacksonville whatsoever. It's not because Trevor Lawrence is a bad quarterback, but it's more so because of the organization. The Jaguars have been known to be an absolute clown show for not just the past few years or even just in the Trevor Lawrence era, but in the past decade. The Jaguars have been one of the worst franchises ran in the entire National Football League. I know they had the magical 2017 NFL season, but outside of that year, the Jaguars really haven't done a whole lot in the NFL. I know they won a playoff game with Trevor Lawrence as their starting quarterback, but that was back in 2022. We have to talk about recency bias, and we have to ask ourselves, what has happened to Trevor Lawrence? Why has he not taken the next step in 2023 and 2024, but yet he is being paid as if he is an elite quarterback? When I did my quarterback rankings, I had Trevor Lawrence at QB 18. That's a major issue. That should never happen to a player like Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is an ultra talented quarterback. He's got all the physical tools you want in a quarterback. He's got the size you want in an NFL quarterback. And quite frankly, when you're 6'6", 220 pounds, and you can run like an athletic freak, there's no reason for Trevor Lawrence to be ranked that low. But unfortunately, I had to put Trevor Lawrence at QB 18 because the production has not matched his talent level. Trevor Lawrence has been an underachiever at the pro level. Yes, I know that he is playing for a dysfunctional franchise, but it doesn't prevent Trevor Lawrence from fumbling the football. It doesn't prevent Trevor Lawrence from taking sacks. It doesn't prevent Trevor Lawrence from making mistakes on the football field. Trevor Lawrence is missing throws that he never missed when he was at Clemson. Trevor Lawrence has quite frankly regressed as a player since he entered the NFL. I know some people are going to say that Trevor Lawrence had a horrible rookie year. I'm actually going to throw it out because Urban Meyer was his head coach, so I don't really think that is a reflection of how Trevor Lawrence is actually playing at the NFL level. However, I am concerned about how he has played the last 2 seasons in the NFL. In 2023, there was a stretch where he looked really good, and the Jaguars were well on their way onto the playoffs. It looked like they were going to clinch the division title, and then they had a monumental collapse. They basically had like a 99% chance to make the playoffs heading into December, and then they ended up losing every single game except for the 2-15 Panthers game. They finished the year with a 9-8 record. They end up missing out on the NFL playoffs because they couldn't beat the Ryan Tannehill-led Titans in Week 18. Of course, it was apparent Trevor Lawrence was playing injured, but regardless, if you're playing out there on the football field, then we have to hold you accountable. And then he ends up getting the massive contract for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then he had one of his worst seasons as a pro. Obviously, he ends the year on injured reserve. Therefore, I'm going to be a little bit alarmed in terms of how Trevor Lawrence has been playing at the NFL level, and usually it takes about 45 to 50 starts before you know what you have in a quarterback. Can Trevor Lawrence be elite on a consistent basis? I don't see it happening. For Nick Wright to continue believing in Trevor Lawrence, it's low-key delusional. I also want to show you guys this clip of Nick Wright pointing out some stats for Trevor Lawrence and talking about how he could certainly make a big jump in year 5, especially with Liam Coen as his head coach. It's certainly an interesting take. I'm not sure if I agree with it completely. Roll the film.
His second year in the league, he was a Pro Bowler. He was 7th in league MVP voting. He had the 3rd greatest playoff comeback ever, biggest playoff comeback ever. There's proof of concept is my point. There is proof of it's not just. I'm not talking about high school where he's great or college where he's legendary.
Of course, like every other NFL player.
His second year in the league.
Okay.
If he does that, Brew.
For the record, Cam Ward
Hold on.
not.
What if this is his year next year? These numbers and wins a playoff game.
95 passer rate. Okay, it's fine.
I love you guys so much.
Well, go prove it, Trevor Lawrence. Go prove that you are an elite quarterback on a consistent basis. Look, I want to defend Trevor Lawrence more than anybody else, but if I defend Trevor Lawrence and trash all these other quarterbacks, then I would not be honest with my audience whatsoever. This channel promotes honesty, therefore I have to call out a guy like Trevor Lawrence when he is not performing. Trevor Lawrence has not played like a great quarterback in his first 4 seasons in the NFL. Has he shown spurts of playing like an elite quarterback? Absolutely. I mean, what he did in year 2, really impressive stuff. The Jaguars were 3-7. He ends up carrying them to a winning record. Not only carrying them to a winning record, they win the division. They get into the playoffs. They make a 27-point comeback against the LA Chargers, and Trevor Lawrence wins a playoff game. And then, of course, you look at the beginning of year 3, he looked like he was going to be one of the better quarterbacks. They're in position to win the division before the monumental collapse happened. So the real question for Liam Coen is this: can he get Trevor Lawrence to get back to playing at the level that he was at the beginning of 2023? That's the real question that everybody has to answer. I believe Trevor Lawrence will be an improved player with Liam Coen as his head coach. I'm not sure if he's going to reach the elite levels, but as far as him being a poor man's Justin Herbert, I could absolutely see Trevor Lawrence fulfilling that role. I think the Jaguars are going to be a competitive football team. I think they're going to compete for the playoffs. I don't necessarily think they're going to get in the playoffs, though, mainly because I think their division is going to be a little bit tougher than expected. The Houston Texans should still be the favorites to win that division, and I think the Indianapolis Colts, they're a sleeper in that division. If the Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson situation can resolve itself, they're a quarterback away from major playoff contention. If the Colts can figure out their quarterback situation, they're going to be a very good football team. The Jacksonville Jaguars have talent on their roster, but they haven't been able to put it all together in the Trevor Lawrence era. Let's see if they can do that. They got Brian Thomas Jr., they've got Travis Hunter, they got Dyami Brown, they've got Travis Etienne Jr., they've got Tank Bigsby. So they're certainly loaded at wide receiver and running back right now. The offensive line is still kind of shaky. Tight end play is still unknown at the current moment, but Trevor Lawrence should be out there and playing better football than he has been the last 2 seasons. I think the Jaguars are going to make things interesting, but with the poor defense that they have, they're not going to do much of anything. I think they're going to finish the year with an 8-9 record. They're going to be 3rd in the AFC South division, and they're not going to make the NFL playoffs. I just don't see it happening. Their defense is too bad, but the AFC is also much tougher now compared to when the Jaguars actually used to be a pretty good football team. You guys also have to remember that Trevor Lawrence has been one of the worst 3rd down quarterbacks in football. You can look at the stats for yourself. You could also talk about how Trevor Lawrence puts up poor opening drive stats as well, and that's really more of a team stat. I think the Jaguars are not going to be 4-13 level bad, but in terms of being a major contender in the AFC, I don't see it happening. I don't see what Nick Wright is talking about. He is being entirely too hopeful on Trevor Lawrence as a quarterback. Trevor Lawrence can be a good quarterback, but I don't think he can consistently be an elite quarterback. That's the problem with Trevor Lawrence right there. He was supposed to be this generational talent, and he hasn't lived up to that billing. That's because Trevor Lawrence has been more inaccurate than expected at the pro level, and Trevor Lawrence is going to look better, but he's not going to look like an elite quarterback under Liam Coen. I don't really see the Jaguars becoming a playoff team in 2025, so that is why I do not agree with Nick Wright's take on Trevor Lawrence, as Trevor Lawrence has been overhyped since day one. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @DustinNashTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinNashTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinNashTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, Check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel, Sports Guy Talking.